Massenomics. Welcome to Massenomics, the world's strongest podcast. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Massenomics. Make sure you go visit Massenomics.com. There you'll find the rest of our powerful content. While you're there, check out our store and buy yourself some of that sweet Massenomics gear. I'm recording. We're on TV. We're on the internet now, right? We're good to go.
Yeah, we're on the internet.
For sure?
Yeah.
All right.
We're live. We're all plastered on the internet.
Good. Wouldn't be the first time. All right, guys. We are joined today with Ryan DeFay and Katie Berheim. Everybody say hello. Howdy.
Hello. Hi.
The topic of today's episode is yoga for huge guys, apparently. We just had, Katie was nice enough to come over. She ran us through our first basically, none of us, you guys have ever done any yoga before, right?
I have one other time.
You have. I think you
I kept that from everyone.
Yeah, he's a ringer.
I noticed him out there, like he seemed like he really knew what he was doing.
So like I put both of my legs behind my head.
And... Anyway, I had a wonderful time. I still felt like I was about as bad at it as I had expected to be. Katie, tell us how we did. At least tell everybody how we held up.
Honestly, everybody exceeded my expectations.
Put that a little closer. I don't know if I messed that up or what.
A little closer?
Yeah, try that.
That looked pretty good.
No.
No.
God damn it.
Top
I have no idea what I'm doing here. Hold on, I lost you. That's why. We lost Katie's microphone. And a little technical difficulty.
Well, I could talk more.
Now let's hear it, Katie.
How's that?
That's perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Man, we should pay somebody to do this so I don't have to. Tell us how we did. At least at what level was what we just went through?
It was a beginner level.
For sure.
Yeah, it was just some starter stuff, but saying that I'm not good at yoga right away or I shouldn't do it is like saying I can't lift weights or go and train because I can't lift heavy stuff yet. You just the more you do it, the better you'll get and the more benefit you'll see. So I think you guys did excellent for your first
We held up
go.
okay.
You did.
Nobody was crying or walked out. So.
No, nobody cried.
Good. Yeah.
And we kind of kept it together, sort of. Fortunately, we're all tall enough to use my ceiling to stop from falling over.
The props. You just used some props.
Yeah.
That's all. Some people call it a ceiling. You called it a
We
prop.
I don't know, the interesting thing for me was breathing. And I kind of, I don't know, not knowing anything, I was like, oh, yoga, you stretch a lot and get into some really gnarly poses and shit. But I forgot to breathe all the time. And I think that's like 90% of it anyways.
Yeah, your breathing will do a lot of it. And I haven't seen that color of red on a student's face in a long time.
It was bad. I don't know. I'd say I was definitely the worst at that. Tommy, you seem to be pretty okay at it.
I would use the word, maybe okay. I didn't feel good really, but it wasn't bad. So
I don't think you couldn't have been any worse than I felt like I was.
Tanner sucked.
Nobody sucked at it. It was just the first go around, and you guys did great.
And we were actually pretty fortunate in that we were able to just have it just basically be the four of us in like kind of a pseudo private class, except for my dog and my sister taking pictures, which I'm sure will be in the show notes of this. So if you're listening to this on Stitcher or iTunes, make sure you go to the website and scroll through the show notes. We'll have a nice, cute gallery of us getting twisted up like pretzels.
Looking uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's some pictures in there that make it look like it's just a still shot, so you might have caught a split second where it looks like we're doing something right. So
A second of greatness.
Yeah, like
there was more than a second of greatness. You guys did a good job.
One very stylized, highly filtered photo. What do you get like in let me back it up a little bit, I guess. Like, how long have you been teaching yoga and also practicing?
I've been teaching yoga since August of 2010.
Okay.
And I started doing yoga consistently probably about 2008, 2009-ish. And it was just kind of a complete fluke that I got thrown into teaching. But I really liked it, so I've just kept rolling with it. I'm currently in the process of getting my 200-hour certification through the Yoga Alliance. So this was actually really fun for me to do too, because I'm in the process of expanding my education about it. So getting into something different with you guys was exciting.
What does I guess how many classes a week do you teach?
I teach 5 yoga classes a week. I teach 2 of them at a hot studio where we have about 60% humidity and the temperature is 104.
That's what it felt like.
Makes you want to puke just thinking about it.
It'll really open up those muscles, and it doesn't really feel actually that hot. It's really a fun practice to do once you get it out of your mind that it's so hot. And then I teach a couple of classes a week at a local gym.
Gotcha.
What is the? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so how long is like a typical class?
My classes are typically an hour.
Okay. How long did we go?
5 minutes.
because we actually started kind of a little bit late anyways, and how long we were, like a half an hour?
Yeah, we were probably about a half an hour.
No shit. Okay. That felt like a full hour for sure.
And the thing is, once you get used to it, like class will feel a lot shorter than that. Like sometimes I blink as the teacher and go, oh geez, we're almost done. But it's fun when you're having fun. Time flies.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun once you get used to it.
Do you teach specifically different levels for different classes then, or that's what I wonder, if you get say the 4 of us in there, and maybe there's 5 other people that have done it 100 classes and they know what they're doing. How do you deal with that?
I generally try and teach to the newest student in my class, but when I'm at the hot studio, I have one class that's foundational yoga where I keep everything very basic and we just do the foundations of it, and then I teach the only intermediate class there, and I don't want to say like I kick their butts, but like my goal is to challenge them to the next step of their practice there. But when I'm at the gym, generally I just look at my newest student, and my experienced students know how to do the next extension or the next part of the pose. So, they know there's someone new in the room too. And my goal is always, first and foremost, never to hurt anybody. And second of all, it's, extend some enjoyment in the practice. I want people to get the kick out of it that I do. So,
because I don't know anything about yoga, is it usually like the same like cadence of things you go through every time, or as you being the instructor, can you change up the order or the way that things are going?
It depends on what kind of yoga you're doing. Like a lot of people have heard of Bikram yoga. He has a specific set of poses that he does for a specific set of time in a specific order. Me, I kind of do who I see in class that day has a bearing on what I do. And sometimes I'll have people come in that say, man, my back's really sore. Can we do backs? Or, hey, I need to work on my arms. Can we do arms? Or I'm having a bad day. Can we call it stretchy, twisty yoga, but it's called a yin yoga or restorative yoga. And we just kind of roll with it. We can do what we need to do on any given day.
What is the progression like? So you kind of saw what shape we were in yoga wise when we came in today. How does that how do you progress? Would we just come in and we would do those types of things and just maybe scale them less and less time with the blocks, less time with the straps, less time, and we just eventually can get into those things without falling over?
Yeah, and it's individual for everyone, and some people it's like they come to 2 classes and the next thing you know I'd put them in an intermediate class, and some people it takes a long time. They spend weeks, months, and years just trying to touch their toes, which is totally fine because that's where they are at.
Yeah, I'm 32 years into trying to touch my toes.
They're far away. They're way down there.
Yeah, that's true.
And without being too philosophical, it's not necessarily about touching your toes. It's all the things you do while trying to touch your toes.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed, I'm curious if any of you guys, there was a couple times when we were down on our hands, my triceps were getting really tired.
I was gonna say,
did anyone else feel that at all?
What's that pose where you're on your feet and then your hands?
Down dog?
Yeah, that wasn't fun.
What's funny
I
is
I was trying not to lock out my arms. I was like, oh.
That's the one thing too that I had that's the one that of that everybody knows of, and And that was awful for me.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that's pretty rudimentary.
Yeah.
But I was like max level suffering during that.
Well, I'm sorry you were suffering, but it's just one of those things. It was probably very new to your body and very different from what you ask it to do, and it gets comfortable really fast. Like in classes, I tend to use down dog as a resting pose. Like we've been working hard and we're going here to rest.
I feel like another thing too, the whole time you're trying to stay really relaxed and breathe, and that was the one where I was just like, like just holding on, just like
The only time I ever felt like we were resting is when we would just stand there.
when we didn't do anything.
just in between for a second. I was like, oh yes.
We did some shavasana and final relaxation.
that
you
was
know?
nice.
Yeah, that was that. I really liked that part.
You know, we're one of the only, quote unquote sports that ends with nap time. I don't understand how more people don't love that.
I'm gonna kill our sound here for just a second, guys. Don't worry, the listeners couldn't hear that.
Okay.
But anyway, about that. At the very end, I had I noticed when we were laying, the less sexy term was the corpse pose.
Yeah.
But what I found was how tense I am just laying on my back, and I would be there, I'd be like, okay, just relax and just breathe, and then I'd find myself like, and then I'd get it all chilled out again, and then like 30 seconds later, I'm like, well, how the fuck did this happen?
Tense up.
And you think you're as relaxed as you can possibly be, and then you say like, relax your arm or whatever it was, or the one was like, relax your brow. It's like, oh yeah, that's tense too. I'm closing my eyes too hard.
And that's a really common thing, and I think it happens a lot, especially like where we live. It's so cold that we tense up our entire body trying to stay warm, and some of us don't release that the entire winter.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I've noticed too, is I think like even, I think from the minute you wake up, I know I'm kind of cold. You take a shower, you're like, the air's just cold all the time anyways. You go to work, it's freezing cold. You're at a desk, so everything you do during the day is just like tightening
And
all
you're not
of this
really
up.
breathing very well.
And then just like things keep happening, and you're like just in this tight shell
Kinda
as the day goes on.
Why do we live here?
Which is why people go from -10 outside into 104-degree hot yoga studio. It's the best you'll feel all day.
Yeah.
But no, and it was interesting to watch you guys as you were in Shavasana and we were going into that final meditation, because I could see you guys are built enough that I could physically see when you would relax, because I'd see biceps open up towards it was physically obvious when you were relaxing and when you would tense back up. I mean, a couple times I think you guys were just really concerned that like you wouldn't touch each other's hands or something.
That's all I was thinking about.
and I kind of got a sense of that, but for the most part you could tell when you were relaxing and when you were tensing back up. But I hope the relaxation felt good and was kind of a check-in with the natural state of where your body wants to be when it's resting.
We just didn't want to touch hands because I didn't want to like get gay with Ryan while my wife was there and my sister was taking pictures.
Just make her look bad.
Purely a jealousy thing.
Yeah, Megan would be like, oh, again? Just looking at her. God, these two. Well, right in my own home in front of my own two eyes.
We have non-judgment in yoga, so whatever, I just really wanted you to have a good relaxation.
And I just wanted to make sure Ryan was relaxed.
There you go.
Job done.
I'm losing my... All right, we're having some major technical difficulties here. Ryan, will you recap your experience?
Well, I think I'm the most veteran yogi.
There you go.
You've done 200% more yoga than anyone else.
Yeah, so one other time, and that was a full hour, and I was surprised how difficult it was. I thought it was just kind of sitting there and breathing, and
well, that's even what we said coming down here. We're like, got kind of sweaty doing that. Actually, we were kind of, it felt like just standing or sitting in different ways, but you kind of get a sweat going doing it.
And then I think that's another thing too, like I was saying earlier with that downward dog pose, like if you're doing it right, you really shouldn't be that tense, right? Your body should be fairly relaxed.
Yeah, and your body just hasn't been, you haven't asked that of it, so it's totally fair that it was slightly uncomfortable or strong, but
that's how I felt the whole time.
Well,
Wrong
I'm
and
sorry
uncomfortable.
I couldn't give you any comfort in practice. I'm sorry.
But even from just the kind of the perspective of powerlifting compared to yoga, so much of what we do in powerlifting, it's before any big movement. the breathing thing is key. Like breathing is in
definitely.
everything. Breathing is big, but in powerlifting, so often before anything, you're bringing as much air in as you can just to brace and push and just basically tighten and lock everything up as possible. Where here you're breathing to
The opposite.
for the opposite
loose.
reasons. So
Right.
I think we were talking about this last week. We went snowboarding with Ryan, and we're like the hardest part of today is every time we have to bend down to put our bindings on, because it's like
I think my belly's just so much bigger than it is. It's like, oh god, it's like putting your socks on 20 times a day. Like,
but you find yourself like
stop doing
tightening
this.
up every
Yeah.
time you need to do it. It's like there's no reason I need to like hold my breath and tighten down to do this stuff. Like I can just breathe out, relax, and do it.
And,
So that was an interesting perspective for
and
it.
I'm sure there's a certain level of being able to focus and control your breath that goes with both yoga and your powerlifting. And honestly, I everything I've read and kind of tried to look into, yoga and lifting complement each other just beautifully.
Well, I think if you look at the way that we did move was like that. There's probably some pretty serious weaknesses in our like flexibility and mobility and like specifically the hip stuff. For me, like anytime it was like turn the foot, and I was like, fuck,
the,
I
war-
don't know.
the warrior pose and trying to keep your knee over your foot. Like that's
I
a
like
lot
that.
harder.
That
than you think.
I mean, that feels like it's definitely doing something though. Like I
Right.
can see how that is
Yeah.
to be good at that. It would be a good thing.
Well, and you're lifting, you're more explosive, yes? So you're dealing more with fast twitch and
Right.
those type of muscles. And yoga is going to obviously be a slower paced or a flow. So you're going to support those fast twitch muscles with your slow twitch, your shorter ones. And you'll get better. I mean, they'll look better. I mean, you add the yoga to it. Like you have quote unquote prettier muscles and they support each other. You reduce your risk of injury. It's
So you're saying it's good to be flexible.
it's good to be flexible. It's good, long and strong. That's how I always say I want my muscles, long and strong.
Say if the four of us were to start, what frequency do you suppose is once a week often enough? Twice a week? Once every other week?
If you're just starting off and continuing, the powerlifting, everything, I'd say if you could fit in a half hour to 45 minutes of yoga twice a week, that'd be great. Or like I mentioned upstairs, if you wanted to do a couple sun salutations when you woke up in the morning or went to bed at night, that might really be beneficial to you.
I was feeling pretty stiff and sore today before we came, and now after doing that, I feel better than before we started for sure.
me too.
That's
Without
what I
a
was going
doubt.
to say too. I was extremely sore I don't know why, from squatting on Friday, and I was actually like afraid to get into a lot of those poses. And then like we just did it. Like it didn't even, I think it goes right back to that same thing as you start to just tense up whenever you have to move, that kind of the breathing, the relaxing made it easier to get into those positions.
I feel better about going into a lift tomorrow. Now after, I feel better now.
I also think that like having an instructor to do it, because even if I go to the gym and I'm trying to get just looser, I'm like, I don't know.
Do some arm circles.
I don't
There you
know.
go.
We're good. You know what I mean? I can, like, at least if you were to go to a class and there's an instructor there's somebody who's gonna be like, you're not fucking doing anything. You know what I mean? You have to do something.
Guiding you.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, you guys! This place is. If you're watching this episode, the studio is just falling
It's
apart.
like somebody came in here and switched around all the cables and then loosed
Oh
everything.
my God.
Dennis the Menace.
Yeah.
When we came
You
in
have a
here,
neighbor boy that does this?
Katie was like, "Oh, this looks really professional." I was like, "Yeah, just hang on.
Yeah. Just wait. You'll find out.
Shit's falling apart. Stuff doesn't work. So you get what you pay for, and we're not paying anybody to set this up. So
Something I was thinking about while we were going is how difficult it was for me to just be doing it, and probably all four of us, but then difficult to focus on the breathing and focus on the movement. You were doing it and you were talking the entire time. I was
Yeah.
like, how could she do this and be talking? Like, it's all I can do to just kind of
Just
breathe.
to make us look bad.
It's just practice.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 7 years now, so just
That
practice.
would make it a lot harder though.
Yeah.
How do you practice, or like how would you even go about doing that? Do you just get good enough to where you're like, okay, I can breathe well enough to where I can actually talk while I'm doing this?
You get used to it, and usually I don't have a class that's for people who have never practiced before.
Okay.
So I can not be doing the practice, and I can be going among them and giving direction and adjusting poses and helping them and ask, does this hurt? Does this feel good? Do you feel, so I don't have to do the practice the entire time. I try and do as little of the practice as I can so I can be paying attention to my students. But sometimes you just got to do it so you get used to it over the course of time.
Plus with us, if we didn't see somebody doing it, we would have no idea what to do.
I was looking at you.
There was
Okay.
a couple times, especially at the end, where like I think a couple of us popped up and like kind of looked around.
Wait,
just
what
to
the fuck am I
see
doing?
what was
Yeah.
happening.
That's okay. And part of it is like I'm a visual learner. Like I probably didn't hear a yoga instructor the first 2 years I went to classes. I pretty much watched everything because I'm just that visual. So.
Right.
But once students are there a bit, they know when I say Warrior 2, they know where they're going. So it just depends on who's in the room.
So one of the most interesting things I thought of the whole thing was you talked about kind of your weight over your foot and balance in the toes. Can you explain that one more time, what we were doing there?
The Talon toes?
Yes.
What I did was I had them unlock their knees, so that joint was soft, and I had them lift up their toes and spread them apart. And they kind of rocked and swayed a little bit like everyone does, and then they balanced out. And that was them putting even weight distribution, on all edges of their foot, so they were actually completely balanced. So, when you went through poses, and especially into one-legged balance poses, you made sure that you were balancing evenly, like your muscles were where they were supposed to be, your joints were in alignment. And you weren't like scrunching your toes down into the ground thinking that somehow that would help you balance.
But how else are we supposed to hang on? Toes are the fingers of the feet, right?
This is true, but you can balance without them. And you take away the little things like grabbing the toes into the mat or the floor, and you find that all your other small muscles wrap around the big bones, and you get more benefit out of doing that way. You're building strength, you're building that flexibility, you're maintaining everything you need to do to keep that balance, and you're getting the intended benefit for your body.
And I thought that was kind of interesting too, because I think of how that kind of carries over to the squat with a lot of people, probably because of mobility or whatever issues, either have way too much weight on their heels throughout the squat, get way too much weight on the balls of their feet.
Right.
But just that idea of, keeping it spread throughout. And I think even, opening up your toes and spreading them like you were showing us could be a huge benefit through that balance process.
Are you guys playing with your toes now in the carpet
Yes,
right
I
now?
actually am
I'm
right
sort
now.
of
as we're
rubbing my
talking about-
knees right now.
That was the other thing with the feet is just trying to stand on one foot. It was like, okay, so we're just gonna balance,
It's like a sobriety
just
test.
literally just lift.
But nobody's drunk.
Yeah, just lift.
Last night was pretty crazy.
I took it pretty easy last night, actually. But you just lift the one foot off the ground, and I was like, oh, I feel like such a piece of shit. I was like,
Come on, you can do this.
Like I thought that was the
Breathe.
game.
Yeah.
So I'm up there and I'm super tense, and I'm going, oh,
I'm doing it.
Nailed it. Oh.
It's like Kill Bill, and you just lay there like, move your damn toe.
Yeah.
Wiggle your big toe.
So, yeah, that stuff, and then somehow that turned into almost a one-legged
squat with your other leg on your knee of the.
It was balancing pigeons pose.
Okay.
And there's
Is that easy? Most people are like,
Can a lot of people do that? Like you were doing it to like a parallel squat on your one leg, like that is pretty
Do you
hard.
just like chill there and like read a book? It looked pretty comfortable for you.
No, because after a certain amount of time, it does get rather tiring.
Yeah.
But no, it's just different. It's not hard or people don't do it better or worse. It's just different because bodies are constructed different, We were just talking about like visually watching, the instructor or whatever to know things, but sometimes visual is one of the worst things you have because, two people doing tree pose perfectly right, correctly can look very different just because your bodies look different. So just because my femur goes down to parallel and balancing pigeons pose doesn't mean yours need to, and you might be doing it better than me.
I was.
Completely. I'm
Didn't
just
want to brag.
I'm
but-
gonna deflate my ego enough to be like,
She said it, guys.
Tyler Stone's my new guru. But
Tyler should have led that class.
And also, how many times have you had classes interrupted by 150-pound dogs?
You know, I've only had one other dog in class before, and it was a seeing eye dog. And Breezy sat very nicely on her own mat in the corner until we were done. But
Fletch was a no-go.
Fletch was very nice.
I thought he was like some type of service animal, though.
Yeah,
like your blood sugar dog?
He like eats food to make sure it's safe for you.
yeah. He holds my couch cushions down. Yeah. That's the only service he offers.
He's a good boy.
He got it. Well, and right away, so he starts like moving around and shit. And it's like, all right, dude, this is going to be a problem. So I had my sister put him in his kennel in the garage. And then he starts, this is going to be the least relaxing yoga session
to
ever.
hear an animal suffering.
Maybe we
while
could just
they're
play
trying
that like dog commercial in the background too with the Sarah McLachlan song.
I'm so having an angel. So then I'd be like, well, I got to either interrupt this right now or I'm going to listen to a dog whine.
I think you
Fucking
did the
bring
right
him
thing.
in, hold him down. I don't know what you got to do. But I think we did the right thing. Props to my wife for keeping him out of our hair then for the rest of the trip or the rest of the session. What about is it normally like lit? Is it dark? Is it
Just depends on the
Yeah.
teacher. I usually like to have it a little bit more. I like to have plenty of light in the room until I go down to Shavasana and final relaxation. Then I'll go turn them down as low as I can get them usually.
because I kind of felt like I didn't want people to be able to see
Don't look at me.
what I look
Does
like.
anyone ever fall asleep during that last little part? Has
Yes.
that happened?
I can
Yes,
see
I
that
actually
happening.
have a horror story about that.
I would love to hear that story.
Let's go.
So,
Dial it in.
so I am teaching this classes in the hot studio. I've got about 4 students in the room, and we do a good practice, and we're not really feeling tired or anything. And we go down into Shavasana, and next thing I know, I, as the teacher, wake up 45 minutes later, and my class is gone.
Oh man.
It was like the most panicked feeling I'd ever had in my life. But no, I've had people fall asleep before. I've had people start snoring in Shavasana before, and it's just okay because your body's doing what it needs, and if it needs sleep, that's fine. And if you snore while you sleep, okay.
I think that means you did a really good job.
Yes, I generally take it as a compliment if someone gets relaxed enough that they can fall asleep after my class. So they're getting what they came for.
That playlist that we were listening to, was that yours, Tyler, or was that?
That wasn't mine.
So where do you get yoga music like that?
That's actually a Pandora station.
Okay.
So it's Yoga Sanctuary on Pandora.
I
And
could fall asleep to that. Like,
Yeah.
It's just pretty relaxing.
Well, yeah, that's actually it's weird to go into something that's only ambient because it wasn't actually music.
no, it just kind
You know what I mean? That's what was
Or
interesting.
just
It was
tones,
just like
calming tones.
whale noises. Or
like there was no there's
sounds.
for a minute well when you first turned it on I was like I wonder what this is gonna be, but it was just then it kind of fell away, you know what I mean? But it was
I never really. I can't recall noticing it.
I don't
really like
honestly
it.
remember any of
because there was no like time signature.
I
or
didn't.
it
The
was
melodies and the choruses weren't really that good. so I
and
don't know.
honestly, what a lot of those were Tibetan bowls, Tibetan crystal bowls.
So they're just
And you kind of like scrape the edge of the bowl, and
Gotcha.
it makes the vibration.
gotcha.
And there are those that have the understanding that like the entire body is made up of vibrations, and like you can just heal things through the vibrations of the bowls. I don't really know much about it, but
I used to.
Ryan, you know quite a bit about that.
Yeah. Katie, thank you for bringing that up. So, no, I don't know anything about it.
Not the bowls we're used to.
oh my. There are yoga classes that do that too. I think you have to go to California, but
California, Colorado, I heard
they're
have some
out
pretty
there.
legit yoga. I don't know if I could handle that though. Like
the pre-workout of yogis.
That especially what's the last part called where we're laying down?
Shavasana. It's
Okay.
just the final relaxation.
That like your job then it is like a little bit. It reminds me of if you're getting hypnotized, like a hypnotherapist or whatever. Kind of what you're doing reminds me of that.
Yeah.
You know.
You're sort of telling the body or maybe tricking the body into like being in this relaxed state. It worked.
Yeah, I know.
It worked.
Ryan's been clucking like a chicken every time we clap our hands.
No, I
Still
can't
under
claim to know how to
hypnosis.
hypnotize, but what I've done with that part of practice when I teach is just I just do what works for me.
Right.
And that's been through going through to workshops or other people's classes. I've just gathered things here and there that have worked for me, and that's what I do.
That's a thing that I don't think you could just be like, all right, I'm going to do that today. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't be like, all right, Ryan, lay down. And
I don't know, just think about something that kind of makes you happy, I guess.
Close your eyes. Just don't talk for a few minutes.
Listen, if you got to fart, it's going to be cool to fart. Just do it.
Just go.
Just chill out. I want you to just, like I
I didn't smell any farts while we were going.
No, I heard that was a thing. Is that a common thing? All that
It's not
moving around?
It's not uncommon. And, it's if someone breaks wind in class, they just kind of ignore it and keep going.
Is there a technical yoga term for that?
Not that I am aware of.
Really?
But I'm continuing education, so I'll get back to you. If I learn a term for that, I will let you know.
So your kind of dialogue or script that you kind of go through, is that something that you practice and sort of perfect? Because it was pretty good. It was very, very professional. It's good.
I've been doing it at least twice a week for about 7 years,
So,
so
yeah.
it just kind of goes now.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll find ways just to change it up, so I don't turn into like a robot during class. I want to stay present in what I'm doing.
It sounds really natural.
Do you ever throw anything in there just to keep people on their toes, like?
Oh, yeah.
Like a real wild card, be like, I don't want you to relax. Just see if you can put. I want you to relax your elbows. Your dry, crusty, disgusting, unlotioned elbows.
No, but I'm gonna try it now.
Like just where people kind of like,
Yeah. It's
The
like that last week.
the right group of students will show up that I can do that too. I just know
It's
it.
winter time. It's really dry out. She has a point.
No, but sometimes, like when we're going through the sun salutations at the beginning, I'll do something different or cue something different just to watch them be like, oh God, no, wrong way.
Yeah.
Just be like, I tricked you.
That's why I'm here.
Gotta listen.
So when you talk about continuing your education with this, is there certifications, or how do you climb through the ranks of yoga mastery?
black belt.
Well, I'm not sure if there's yoga mastery. One of the teachers I always took classes from put it very well. She's like, it's yoga practice, not yoga perfect. So, just don't worry about it. And I like that. There's different things you can do. What I'm doing is through the Yoga Alliance, which has been probably, I think, maybe one of the oldest kind of institutions maybe of yoga to help kind of protect the golden goose, make sure that if you say you're a Yoga Alliance teacher that you're actually legit and educated. The first certifications I got were through a company called Yoga Fit, and they were okay. Bikram does his own training, Core Power does their own training. It's become a very modern thing in probably the last 20, 30 years. So there's a lot of different certifications and stuff popping up. And
so you can kind of send about anybody a check.
Yeah,
almost,
I was going to say, and how many of those are legit? That's
It's funny
not my
that you
place
would
to
say
say.
that
But
what is legit, because I watched this documentary recently about Jake the Snake, the professional wrestler.
with DDP yoga? Oh my gosh, yes.
Ivan Dallas Page, yeah. Not your mother's yoga.
Yeah.
So you're familiar with?
I've seen a little bit of DDP yoga. Honestly,
I've not heard of this, so this is really
pretty flexible.
If I saw that DDP was doing a yoga class, I would throw elbows to get there.
Yeah.
I would definitely do it.
I would be there.
Other than Katie, that would probably be second on my list for ideal first yoga class.
So did he invent his own yoga, or what?
I think it's more just kind of he's a yoga teacher, but this is my way of doing yoga. It's the Diamond Dallas Page
Is it?
way,
My question
and I'm
is:
a wrestler.
Is it a pretty chill? Has anybody seen it? Is it a pretty chilled out, or is it
I don't know.
yoga that's in your fucking face?
It's a little bit of both. What I really appreciate about what I've seen about the DDP yoga is he's very adamant that it's accessible to everybody, and like I just said, that it doesn't have to be perfect.
Gotcha.
Which is great, and that's where all his results are coming from. Like Jake the Snake, and then I weighed 900 pounds, and now look at me.
Yeah.
But I've appreciated what I've seen about it so far, and like I said, I'd take the class.
Is there people? I mean, is yoga? It's not like a suitable replacement for fully for exercise, is it? Or is that something like you mentioned? People lost weight. I'm gonna maybe sound stupid asking this question. Is that just? Are there people that'll just do yoga? That's what they do for exercise.
I feel like you could, because I thought that was a workout. I mean, I didn't think it was easy.
It's just a bunch of isometric holding stuff.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Which is hard.
Posing is
And
poses, yeah.
it depends. You can do a flow, like when we did those sun salutations, we did the first one slow, and we did the isometric holds, and then you turn it into a flow where you're doing a different movements on every breath. I mean, honestly, I've gone years with the only workout I've done has been yoga.
And if you're not watching on YouTube, Katie weighs 900 pounds.
No, I don't.
That's what I was just curious. If somebody maybe is gonna just wants to start to move, is that a good place to start?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think it'd be good because it's not intimidating. Whereas maybe somebody trying to get into lifting weights, like, whoa, what's all this stuff? It's heavy and scary, and
Yeah.
at least you're doing something and you're moving. That's probably the most important
And I'd
thing.
say the biggest benefit is because you kind of have a coach.
Right.
Like if someone told us like, okay, guys, go do yoga, we'd be
It'd
like,
be like that thing where you're just saying, oh yeah, just get on the floor and just kind of relax. Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of people, I think, find yoga through injury. Like they've been runners or lifters or something, and they have an injury, and they find yoga is about the only thing that they can do because they can work around it and strengthen whatever is injured too. So it's great for that too.
It got Jake the Snake back.
Got Jake the Snake
on the
back.
path of greatness. So
That's right.
It can work for him.
See, what I understood about the Diamond Dallas Page yoga is that he
Go
actually,
on, Tanner.
well, he gives everyone diamond cutters to put them to sleep, and then that's about it. That's about the extent of it.
Yeah.
Does he have? I'm gonna hope that at some point it all
pose?
comes
Oh, he
in.
does. He does.
He
He does.
said,
That's
To the
part,
diamond
the
cutter?
sun salutation where we
Yeah.
lifted the arms
Yeah.
up. He goes up and he brings it
That's funny.
down.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
is
it's-
You'd
great.
be a fool not to do that.
Yeah.
But you know what? That opened up a whole new group of people to try and yoga too.
that's
So
true.
Awesome.
Is he
Breaking down boundaries.
is he selling DVDs or what?
Yeah, I think so.
probably.
Good for him. He'll be dead in 2 years, like the rest of them, won't he?
He's,
don't know.
after
Seems
watching
like
that
doing
documentary,
pretty-
he
Yeah.
seemed
He's
a
pretty
lot better
level-headed.
off than
Tell me
the rest of them.
Tell me about this documentary.
Okay,
I haven't
so-
even seen
The Resurrection
It's
of Jake the
called The
Snake.
Resurrection of Jake the Snake.
Okay,
and
so I thought it was a Diamond Dallas Page documentary.
Well,
okay.
he is one of the main characters, and I
Okay.
say it's a character because Diamond Dallas Page is a character.
All right.
He's also a real person, but so it's Jake the Snake, and it starts, and he's doing some kind of like not backyard wrestling, but it's a very
Sad place to
Yeah,
be.
for like a former,
right, like
WWE
he was
guy.
big time back in the day.
Katie, have you seen this before?
Yes, I watched it.
so, okay.
Yeah.
Am I the only one who hasn't seen
I
this?
know. I
I watched
heard
it like a week and a half ago.
These guys were talking
I
about it
thought-
a week ago.
I thought it. Yep, it's on Netflix. And
Chris Bell is the director? Or
no,
so- oh, okay.
I don't think
he's
he has
not-
anything to do with
Oh,
it.
he
Some
doesn't?
Asian
Okay.
guy.
Okay, what's it
Okay.
called?
The
Again?
Resurrection of
The
Jake the Snake.
Resurrection of
So
Jake the
it
Snake.
starts, and it's this footage of this wrestling match where he's supposed to be, make like a celebrity appearance, and he comes out and he is very drunk, like he can barely get into the ring, and I think later on in the documentary it goes on to say that he drank like 20 of those little vodka shooters before he even like got on in the ring. It's like, whoa, that's gotta calm your nerves, I guess. And then he goes out there and the crowd just starts yelling at him and like making fun of him because he can barely, move or walk or do anything. And then some guy runs out and he tries to get him to do some, like, I think the DDT was one of his big moves. And he tries to get Jake the Snake to do that to him to like get the crowd basically not to hate him. And he's so incoherent and just has no idea what's going on that he can't even do that. And then it kind of picks up. They want to make a documentary about him and get him on the right path. And he goes and moves with Diamond Dallas Page, and
I just
He
remember
helps him
you
out.
guys saying it was Scott Hall. Makes
oh,
an
Scott
appearance.
Hall, yeah, he comes. It's so awesome. They pick him up from the airport, and he's wearing an insane clown posse like motocross jersey. I was like, I kind of want to wear that. That looks really fun.
And he, at the time that they pick him up, he's pretty far bad down the road too. He's
The
like,
phone call.
Hey man, what's Scott?
I've been drinking vodka for breakfast. I don't want to make fun of alcoholics, but
There are
it's
some
kind of
struggling individuals.
Yeah. So there's some great moments in that documentary, though. Scott Hall, he turns out I think he ends up training his like son or something like that to be a wrestler at the end. That has nothing to do with yoga, but
just a damn good movie.
yeah, oh man, it's just great. So
It was a catalyst. I mean, there's a reason Passages Malibu promotes yoga. There's stuff that
gets you back on the right path.
it can help clear all that muck out of the mind.
So going with that, do you think? Because I sort of feel like this way. I'm not a very religious person. I don't know if we want to get into that. But that whole thing, just kind of, thinking about things and the whole like spirituality thing. Do you think that's kind of a religion for some people?
I think people can make anything a religion.
Right.
And I think yoga is something easy to mistake that for, but spirituality and religion are two very different things.
Okay. Well.
And it would be my hope that everyone can find some form of spirituality through yoga, but I don't think there's a religion to be found.
Right.
If it can definitely help bring you closer to God or he, she, it that may or may not be,
Right.
whatever you find. Or it can just make you feel okay and sleep better at night.
And that's what's most important.
Your journey.
Because Ryan wasn't sure if he was going to have to convert from powerlifting as his religion to yoga,
I'm
but
very
now that he doesn't
confused
have
right
to
now.
make a decision,
It can be the
he's
little
okay.
goddess on the side.
The powerlifting gods would be angry.
Yeah.
Be exiled.
So you walked us through a very basic course. Like, what is considered like advanced or really, really tough, top level stuff for yoga?
Oh, that's just
Is it kind of the same poses but more complicated forms, or like?
yeah. There's always extensions on poses that you can do. And one of my favorite teachers, Christy Schwann, always taught me that once you think that you've got a pose completely nailed and have it perfect, there's that. Okay, well, what's next? What do you do next? And there's always a
Sort
what's
of
next.
like maybe even just the form or the technique and how you get into it.
And then another way that I kind of do with my classes as far as beginners to intermediates to advanced is how long you hold. Like a beginner's class, I'll generally have them hold things for like 3 to 5 nice, long, slow breaths. And when you're working up to advanced, we're doing 10, 15, breaths, or like in the hot studio, sometimes I'll just time it and like, you're going to hold that dancer's balancing pose for, 2 minutes on each side. I think Bikram does like 2.5 minutes for every pose. So
I had to do that downward dog for 2.5 minutes. I think I'd have to.
And some things aren't that good to hold that long. But
I'd be taking a dirt nap.
But no, there's lots of different ways that you can define what's beginners, intermediate, or advanced, and some of it's personal too. But I generally go with it's easy to cue the base of a pose, and then you can put extensions on after that. And usually your advanced students know what that is.
So we've gotten to kind of the basics and some more advanced techniques or just poses that you're talking about. Is there anything that's sort of really gimmicky in yoga right now, or just in general, that you think is just kind of,
Or just a
something
big
out there?
fad that's gonna pass?
Right.
Like any
Like
fitness
maybe not
related
Diamond
thing.
Dallas Page, but like something like that.
But definitely not Diamond Dallas
Yeah.
Page.
You did not talk about it.
I would not speak ill of Diamond Dallas Page. I've worked really hard in probably the last year or so to not pass judgment on that. You have things like when P90X originally came out, Tony Horton had yoga on it, and I enjoyed it. Now Beachbody has their 3-week yoga retreat with Vitas, and even Yoga Fit, where I got my original certification, has this Beth Shaw lady. You have Bikram coming. It's always going to be trendy to some extent, but it's just how trendy you want to make it.
Right.
I'm not big. I don't think people should buy into gurus or idolize anything like that. I think that's really asking for trouble.
What is that exactly? Could you elaborate?
What a guru is?
Right.
Yeah.
Like the love guru. With,
That's
that's all I can think about.
Is that Mike Myers?
Yeah,
No.
that's all I can.
No, well, I guess for me, a guru would be kind of almost like a god or like a demigod
okay.
that's here that can do no wrong, is always right. Have teachers that you highly respect, absolutely. But when you move into gurus and idolizing, I think that's a very dangerous place for us to be. And I guess the mindset that I've decided to settle on is that safe and honest yoga, no matter where it comes from, is something that I need to be appreciative of and glad that it's out there. So, if the Beachbody folks or the Yoga Fit folks or whoever wants to extend, legit healthy yoga, then I need to be grateful for that.
It's all about staying positive.
Yes, positive. Yay!
You're not gonna shit on anyone, are you?
I'm trying to get some dirt on here. Come on.
You kind of.
No, I'm gonna try not to. We have this
Can you
karma
at least
stuff.
say something bad about Tyler?
Just one really bad thing.
All out there already.
He was really scrawny in elementary school.
Shots
If you do
fired.
not remember, I remember Tyler from a long, long time ago.
Guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Is that you from a long, long time ago?
This is Tyler just interjecting from the future, saying that we don't want to get into this. All right. I'm so glad I found this knob on this thing. So this board has effects on it, and I never figured out how to use them until that moment. Just there.
Could we also do that for flashbacks too?
I think so.
Future or flashback.
All right.
Scooby-Doo ending.
Like how I deflect the talking about my childhood stuff.
A lot of bad memories there.
It got weird. I was so scrawny. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, you want something mean? Here's something mean. And,
All right.
and this is kind of where I got my guru thing. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Bikram has found himself back in India because he has had several allegations of rape towards other women and then spoken very poorly about himself. And I think that's absolutely disgusting that people would use a practice or any fitness type thing that's supposed to better yourselves to prey upon people and then to act like you're some sort of king shit that like I can't believe you would accuse me. You should want to sleep with me. Okay. I think especially in a culture like yoga where we're not as sweaty and slinging barbells or whatever around like y'all are.
It's not very bro-y, you could say.
It's a
pretty
place,
chill.
Yeah, where most places aren't, but it could be a place that would be very easy to prey upon other people, especially if you got into a status and you take a seat as teacher. And I think that it's a little bit disgusting that that's happened. Yeah, that's weird.
And
so there's my bad.
I think anything where you end up giving somebody actual power over you. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing having a coach or an instructor, and then it's totally different being like, all right, well, you're just going to be in charge of what I do and whatever, and I'm just going to do whatever you say, and I'm not going to think twice about it at all, you know? Yeah. But at some point, too, well, obviously, being a piece of shit's just being a piece of shit. And but at some point, people have to kind of make their own judgment, too. You know what I mean? Like, Tanner doesn't get to fucking tell me what to do. You know?
Yeah. If Tyler wants to poop with the door open at the gym, I guess he'll do
Yeah,
that.
hey, more power to you, Tyler.
You're not charging me, Tanner.
Exactly. You can put your faith in stuff, but
That's
just
right.
don't put it in Tanner, I guess.
Doing downward dog next thing I know, Tanner's behind me. Like, oh, what's going on?
Eyes on your mats, boys. Eyes on your mats.
You might. Didn't you hear that part? She said you might like start to feel a sensation. But...
Oh, that's what that was?
That was your hamstrings.
Actually,
It's supposed to be your hamstrings.
on the way through, Fletch was running past across my mat, and I don't remember if we were laying on our backs at that point or if we were just moving around. But like I got hit, my eyes were kind of closed right in the face with his tail. Well, for a minute, I'm like, what the fuck did Katie just do? Because that's enough.
No.
Just whipping us with incense.
Well, sometimes we do the gentle face or feet massages in class, but I didn't do that today. So if there was something rubbing on your face, you might want to check in with your buddies.
We try not to get too handsy.
Okay,
The
fair
four of
enough.
us.
Fair enough.
What about on a totally unrelated note? Katie has very, very serious ambitions of making it on Survivor Show.
Heck yes, I do.
And I think we gotta. I want to know first, where did that obsession come from?
One quick question. So does Survivor still exist?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
I'm not sure if you and I can be friends now.
Shots fired.
I've been
Wow.
slacking on my TV.
Jeff Probst is
So have
still
you
alive,
submitted?
so-
Jeff Probst looks younger every season.
And so he's still the host.
Because he drinks
Yeah.
the blood of the losers.
Probably.
They
How
sacrifice
many
him to Jeff Probst.
how many years have you submitted?
Actually, about a month and a half ago, I submitted my 6th application.
What is that?
What is that?
Give
What
us
is
a-
the
Give us a
application?
rundown of what that's like. Is it a video? Is it
Yeah, you do a 3-minute video
okay.
that's supposed to basically show who you are.
Just
Some
kind of
some
you
weird
in
quirks. And...
you in the
Yeah.
wild, like swinging from trees and killing animals.
You know what? Kind of. I did a lot of footage of me attempting to parent my sons, which
Okay.
usually ends up comical and never works out how it's supposed to. But you
Yeah.
know, because a lot of them are like, I don't know. I was trying to record and just be like, "Hi, I'm Katie. I'm 34," and my 4-year-old was like throwing pillows off the couch at my head. So I just kind of left that in there. I mean, like, this is me. This
real,
is what my
yeah,
life
yeah.
is like. So hopefully they'll like it this time.
So what is it about being on Survivor that draws you, or why do you want to do that? I
Because
should
we
say?
could maybe get you on like Wipeout.
Is it Wheel of Fortune good enough?
You know, sometimes you just find this desire for a challenge. And I watch this and I like yell things at the TV every Wednesday night and tell people how they're stupid and know they got to do this. So part of it is I want to put my money where my mouth is.
Right.
And I'm a stay-at-home mom yoga teacher. Moms need adventure too. So I threw my name in the hat, and
What
damn it, if I go, I'm
What
winning.
if you got on and it was like Survivor Alaska?
Or
Would you be
Then
pissed
I
off?
am so prepped.
Survivor,
I guess so,
Survivor, inner city Chicago.
Chirac.
Little inner city Chicago, little white girl in yoga pants. Ooh.
Survivor Syria.
I haven't heard of those coming yet.
The
But
series is getting stale. We had to
Yeah.
spice it up.
Not enough danger.
The other, it would be interesting too. Like, so year one, I suppose, is it tempting to just make your 3-minute video like you're like, "Hi, I'm so and so. I do this, 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 this." You try to make one thing interesting, and then the next year, do you have to start over and be like, "All right, fuck, I'm gonna be totally different this time."
That's what I wondered too. If you've
Yo,
adapted
I'm
over
Katie,
6 years.
yo,
What's up? It's
yeah,
Katie.
I'm sure I have adapted over 6 years, and I'm sure it's gotten a lot less. I was watching some of my previous videos just the other week, and it was like, man, they look so fake. I was trying so hard to want them to like me,
Yeah.
and but by this time with the 6th one, it's kind of like, hey, it's me again.
Remember me? Still here.
if you're the first filter who's been pitching these, throwing them in the trash,
Pass
fuck
it on.
F you, yeah.
Just send it to the next guy already.
Jeff.
Pretty much.
Just if it's been stopping at you every year, just this one time, move it along. Give me one more
There's
shot.
$10 in the envelope. But the most I've heard of someone applying before they got on was, I think, 13 times.
Oh shit.
So I'm not even halfway there.
Yeah. Never give up.
And really, that was 13 videos, and I've only sent 5 videos. One was an actual casting call at the Mall of America. So really,
Do you ever get? Is it like American Idol where there's like varying levels of like
Simon Cowell
all
yelling
right,
at you?
we liked your video. Now we need to have a conference call. Like so is there many stages of it, and have you always ended at just the video thus
it's
far?
always ended at just the video, and I do know a little bit about the different stages.
I bet you know all of them.
Yeah,
Like,
kind of.
do you hear back though? Do they send you something back, or is it you just never hear?
You just never hear.
They send you a video of them just putting out a torch.
One of these days, one of these days, I'm gonna get an email that's like, just stop trying. No, but until I get that email, I'm gonna keep trying.
Keep going.
No, I've actually gotten to speak with Holly Hoffman, who's from South Dakota, and she made it up to number 4 in season 21, and she told me a little bit about her experience with it. So that's where I got my info from.
I think Survivor would be really fun until they did the first thing that involves swimming, and I'd be like, "Oh, sorry guys, I'm out."
Yeah.
Yeah, you're never going to get immunity, Tanner, with that attitude.
Not with that attitude.
They've done some weight stuff in there too.
That would be
that-
you'd just
that-
be keeping your fingers crossed every time, like
do the weightlifting
But then
thing.
you haven't ate for like 2 weeks, so you're the weakest you've ever been in your life.
Or some kind of weird puzzle, and you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is, you sit there on your couch going, "I'm so good at puzzles. I would be so good at that." And then it's like, "But I haven't eaten in 3 hours, and now I can't think."
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that.
The other thing is, I would have a really hard time trying to have like be nice to people that I don't like for the sake of the show. You know what I mean?
Just
you know
secretly
what I mean?
talking
Like
crap about
well, I'd be like,
everybody.
man, I really don't want this guy to vote me off, but I kind of want to just be like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
You know?
I was actually thinking about this last night. Do you remember the guy who lied about his grandma
what was his
dying?
name? Like
Johnny Fairplay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about the show True Life, and he had a true life like, I'm an alcoholic or something. It's like him going out just getting just crazy, and then the next night he's like out with his friends. He's just like drinking a beer. yeah, I'm not partying, just drinking a beer. And it's just like, man, this guy is crazy. And it like told his whole Survivor story. And I think he just basically kind of befriended everybody and lied to them. And then he got closer to the end and lied about his grandma dying or something like that. And they just felt bad for him and kept him on.
Which people don't have that mentality anymore. Like, people are not going to give it up, I don't think.
I would say this far along, I'd be like, oh, well, you should go home then. to your
maybe you
go.
should
Let me
die
help
too.
Well, and they brought him back for another season. They did, I think, Heroes versus Villains, and he actually didn't. I think he either quit or made sure that he told his tribe to vote him off. Like he wanted to go
I got to
home.
get back to Vegas.
Yeah, pretty much.
I haven't watched it in a long time, but if I remember, I thought when it first came out, it was like people starving to death on an island.
Yeah, that's what I
Because I think that's kind of, it was more like that in the beginning, wasn't it?
Okay, because I
And then
may
it
or may not.
evolved into like a very long game show in which you're starving on an island.
No, I may or may not have watched the seasons over and over again on Amazon. Just saying. But like, no, season 1, if you notice, like they probably have more luxury items than they do now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I would say the big difference would be maybe like now they'll provide them with like, here's a bag of rice. This has to last you 29 days. You know, deal with it. But no, like in the first season when they got letters from home, like they sent them like Oreos and chips, and so they're sitting around that eating this stuff.
Water that you can actually drink.
Yeah, and they well actually water's one of the things that now they have the wells because I think it was the Africa season. Like the water was like the color of this table.
Everybody got cholera.
Has anyone ever
pretty bad.
gotten like really sick on the show, like from the show?
There's been people who have been sick for a long time. Tony, one of the winners, he said that he had bugs and everything, and he goes, I was just sick for months afterwards. He was a cop. He was big, like built like you guys, and by the time the show was over, he looked like me.
He turned into a woman. There's been some weird bugs.
Weird bugs.
What was? Go ahead.
I was going to say, so isn't there another show now called like Naked and Alone or
Naked
something?
and Afraid.
See, that one,
Naked and alone. That sounds
they
familiar.
are alone now, aren't they?
The Ryan DeFay story.
Well, you see, here's the difference. Is Naked and Afraid is on a channel where like they like will not interject.
Yeah, because I
unless they
saw it,
have
I'm
to.
like, this doesn't seem legal to do.
No,
Like,
and,
the
like-
person had literally turned into one enormous bug bite. And they had zero food, and they were naked, and they were
And
just
alone.
sleeping. Yeah, they were very alone. And it looked terrifying.
Who's
Well,
filming it?
So
There's a
filmed
camera
Bear
crew
Bear
just
Grylls.
like watching this guy die.
I thought
yeah,
they were
and
filming
and
themselves.
the thing is, I don't think that channel like really cares
Bear
if you die or
Grylls is
get
there
that
drinking
sick.
his pee.
And I could have swore like the person made it like 10 days with like a piece of fish that they found dead in the river, and like they're like, congratulations, you win like $1,000. Like it was some like insulting prize.
What do you? Okay, back to Survivor. What do you win if you win the whole
It's
thing?
$1 million
It is
prize.
$1 million.
Yeah.
I feel like that should have been adjusted for inflation over the last. How many
The
seasons?
thing is, like,
Has it been 20 years?
no, it's been 15.
15?
But in Survivor, it hasn't increased. But if you think about like Amazing Race, I think is only like $500,000, and Big Brother is only like $250,000. So
Do you guys kind of know like the background with game shows, like why they became so popular? Any contest shows?
writer
people-
strikes.
You don't have
People
to,
like to
yeah,
sit
you don't have
down.
to pay writers. You don't have to pay actors. They don't have to be in the screen. And if I remember it, you don't have to be paid. You will only get paid what you win. So you're not getting paid. If you had to be an actor on the show, you would get residuals anytime that airs.
I've seen
but if you're on a
I've
game
seen
show,
Drew Carey acting to be happy on The Price is Right, though.
Yeah,
a lot of
that
times.
guy, you can't tell me that guy's really that happy.
well, he's getting paid. But yeah, like so if you go on those shows, if you go on a show and the gist of the show is you're gonna get punched in the face by professional fighters, and then if you survive, you win $50,000.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you get nothing, and then they're still using that content for forever and ever and ever, and you didn't get shit. You probably got a free meal while you were there.
Punched in
That's
the
all you
face.
Which
A
is
life
going to
of
be our
regret.
A retired Evander.
which is going to be our next project is the punched in the face reality show.
You know, if I ever get on Survivor, I will make sure I talk to casting about that.
I think you should.
I have some friends with an idea.
It's not a good idea,
But it's an idea.
But
they
I
have ideas.
may not be good, but I'd watch.
I do think that would be a fun job. I don't know who gets that, but to like sit in a room with like a group of hopefully like 10 people and just think of game show ideas for like a week straight.
You know what they need to do? Bring back Fear Factor with Joe Rogan.
I think they even did bring it back for like one more season at some point.
Was it with Joe Rogan though?
It was because he said if
Maybe they could do a podcast style and have it like 3 hours long.
well, I think if Joe Rogan was going to make people eat animal dicks, he would just do it on his podcast now and not have
them do it.
You know what I mean? It's not like
It's like he's a guru or something, just making them.
because I think his whole thing now is he didn't want to do that the last time but he was like, they threw so much money at me, so I just did it.
Yeah.
But he's like, now I definitely don't need the money, and so I'm not going to do it. But I don't think we're going to see Joe Rogan yelling at people with,
Maybe Drew
with
Carey
like
could do
mouthfuls of Drew Carey on Fear Factor.
Eat that cow dick.
Well, on that note, our time is up here. Katie's got to get rolling. She has another group of people who are probably much fitter than we are to instruct. So, Tanner, did you have anything else for today? I did forgot to bring your sack stuff in.
Oh,
so
that's all right.
We'll put that
pull
off
out my
until
sack
next week.
time. Yep.
So, anything else we want to cover before we go?
Come on, Tanner.
No.
Anything? Sure. I'm about to start the wrap up.
I was just gonna double check in my head when this would come out. I guess it'll be about
weeks?
2 weeks from today. Which what date is that? The end of January.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't have anything in
the
particular to
22nd.
talk about that. I don't think.
Yeah, it's probably still cold and awful here.
Yeah.
It's probably nicer where you guys live, whoever's listening to this. And yeah, so thanks a lot for listening today, guys. Thanks a lot for coming in, Katie. Thanks for kicking the shit out of us for what felt like an eternity. Go to the website, go to Massenomics.com, scroll to the bottom of the page. You can sign up for our email newsletter. There you'll find our store. You can buy yourself hats like the one Tanner's wearing. Shirts, none of us are wearing.
Oh, I'm wearing a
unfortunately.
shirt,
Oh, he's
but you
wearing a
can't buy
shirt.
this one.
Can't buy that one, so tough shit. You could buy that one.
I'll sell it to you
But-
for like
yeah.
a price.
Yeah, I mean,
I actually printed those shirts.
Did you?
I can get it to you.
Shit.
Yeah.
So contact Katie if you want that shirt, I guess, because she's got the hookup. I'm Tyler. You can find me at Tyler F. and Stone on Instagram. Make sure you go to our Facebook page, like the page. We'll keep you in the loop on everything else that we're doing. Ryan, how can the world find you?
Flying Ryan_D on Instagram.
Emphasis on the D. Tommy?
You can find me at Tomahawk_D.
Emphasis on the D.
I guess. Katie, we will just not probably plaster your personal information all over the internet, but we are going to need the last 4 of your social security number before you go.
And the first
At
6.
least.
and the first 5.
Yeah.
I'll put it at Berheim Mama
There you
on
go.
Instagram. You can get
There you go. And obviously, the people who are in charge of the show Survivor are huge fans of the Massenomics podcast.
So they will be.
Should be good.
Probes will be
Yeah, I
listening.
mean, yeah, Jeff Probst sends us emails. Like, it's almost weird how often he's talking to us, Jeff.
Then why has it taken you so long to hook me up? And what the hell?
We had to
We
get
just
a
had a
free,
lot of
we had
other
to get
stuff
a,
we're doing,
Yeah, we had to
yeah.
get a free session.
Back
out
on the
of her.
mats, you're gonna get it.
So, yeah, so Survivor people, take care of that. Make sure you get Katie on next season. Tanner, how can the world find you?
Check me out at Massenomics on Instagram, and I also coach yoga class at my Massenomics gym Monday through Friday, 7 p.m.
Massenomics_D. I thought you were going to hit us with that.
All right, thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And stay strong.
You just heard the Massenomics podcast. With your ears. You're welcome. Check us out on Facebook, find us on Instagram at Massenomics, and make sure you visit Massenomics.com and buy some of that sweet Massenomics gear. From your friends at Massenomics Studio, home of the world's strongest podcast, stay strong.